Hello and welcome to Insight and Hindsight, the podcast, where every week we dive into stories, mine and yours, to unwrap the wisdom hiding in our yesterdays. I'm your host, Dawn, and I'm here to inspire and motivate you to the best of my ability while coming from the understanding that perfection does not exist. This week's episode came from a couple of messages that I received on the podcast episode that was released 2 weeks ago, where we were talking about leaving relationships and being prepared when leaving a relationship prior to you actually walking away. And I did receive a couple of messages in the DM asking for more detail or more support, or one person asked me for my personal opinion on her particular circumstance in regards to how do you know when it's time to leave a relationship. So this week we're going to dive into that. We're going to go into how do you know when it's time to leave a relationship. And we're talking relationships because no one should ever tell someone to leave their marriage, of course, unless there's some kind of physical stuff going on, or some kind of abusive stuff going on, then perhaps. But most people need to stay out of grown folk business or stay out of marriages or whatever. But this young lady is in a regular relationship. Not saying that it's not deep and meaningful, but she gave a lot of specifics on what her individual needs are and what is not being met. She allowed me to share information, but I think we're going to just talk generalized this week and not dive into the personal details of this young lady's story. And ironically enough, I had a conversation with another young lady this week about the same topic, which I thought, hey, to the charm. And then the random questions that I received about, can you go into more detail about the previous episode? So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about how do you know when it's time to walk away? How do you know when it's time to say, you know what, kiss my ass? We're going to dive into that. But at first, as always, let's get a word in from our sponsor.
Hello, friends. Today I have some super exciting news. We have our first sponsor. Our awesome sponsor, the Achievement Agency, is here to help single moms who are looking for jobs. They have this cool service called the Resume Revamp that can help make your resume shine. So imagine having a best friend, an auntie, a coworker, whoever that knows exactly what a job wants at the company that you're wanting to apply for, and they can put some razzle dazzle on your resume to make it perfect for that particular position. They find the magic words to help your resume get noticed by the applicant tracking system, which is basically the AI that screens your resume before it gets to an actual human being. Magnify your resume to skip over the ATS, the applicant tracking system, to get it in front of the human, and then the human can make the decision. The Resume Revamp, they make sure that your resume tells a story in a way that will catch the eye of the people who are hiring, so it doesn't get lost in the pile with a bunch of others. And the best part, is totally free for those who qualify. You answer a couple of questions. It's like less than 7 questions to see if you qualify for this free program. And even if you don't qualify for the free program, they will still offer your service for you for like a minimal amount of money. If you're a single mom and you need a little help, if you're unemployed, underemployed, looking to scale your career, if you need help with a resume, reach out to the Achievement Agency, sign up for their Resume Revamp. They have done this in the past and have had 100% success and satisfaction with those who have gone through this program before. If you need to go back and look, you can take a look at their Instagram page. And for those of us who are challenged when it comes to spelling, I look for the red squiggly line when I'm typing. They're at TheAchievementAgency at the Achievement Agency on Instagram. You can email them at help@theachievementagency.org. HELP@theachievementagency.org. With that, everyone needs a little help these days. The new year is coming. We want to get out of these raggedy ass jobs that we have. We're trying to get to bigger, better things. We're trying to get bigger and better bags. So let the Achievement Agency help you get out of whatever it is that you're in and get you into something that much better.
Welcome back. So when it comes to relationships, I truly believe that your gut always tells you what's right and what's wrong. If you have to ask a complete and utter stranger if you should leave your relationship, that's the answer to your question. If you get to the point where you're pondering about it on a random day at a random time, and you know that it's not right, then it's time. Sometimes we don't need signs. Sometimes we don't need guidance. The guidance is in our guts. The guidance is in our hearts. The guidance is in our mind. And if you've been unhappy, if the person is not serving you, if they're not willing to meet halfway, like there's so many scenarios. But at the end of the day, you know when the relationship has taken its course. And a lot of times, the reason why we don't walk away is because we're, one, afraid of being alone. Two, we know that outside is a little ghetto right now. We don't want to start over. So therefore, we make excuses for the other person, or we try to focus on the positive, knowing that the bad is tearing us up on the inside. And we need to get to the point where we realize that we are enough by ourselves and we can do it. We can walk away and we can stand strong. And who cares how long that it's been? That's in the past. The future can be brighter if you're willing to put one step in front of the other to walk forward into your future. The past will get smaller and smaller, and it won't even exist if you don't look back. So keep that in mind. And as you know, we try not to edit this podcast. We leave in blunders and hiccups and things of that nature because no one's perfect. Perfection does not exist. With that being said, let's dive into a little bit of detail. So when it comes to leaving your relationship, the first thing you should think about is your personal happiness and fulfillment. Take a look back to reflect on whether or not the relationship is bringing you joy. Is it fulfilling you? Is it making you smile? And every day is not a good day. That doesn't exist either. There are ebbs and flows in relationships. You're always going to have ups and downs. But at the end of the day, if it's leading to a consistent level of unhappiness and discontent, then it's probably worth a second, third, fourth look to see, hey, am I being served here, or do I need to walk away? A key thing that you should also consider is your safety. Definitely assess to see if there are any safety concerns. Anything that has to do with emotional, physical, or sexual abuse, safety should always be a priority. So if there's anyone out here who is not in a relationship, male, female, or anyone in between, walk away and get help. There are various hotlines that you can call, support groups anonymously, where you can just get out. Your safety is the most important. I will leave some of those details in the description of the podcast if you need to know those numbers if they're not available to you. Safety is number one priority. Another thing that you should look at as it pertains to your relationships is your communication. You should evaluate the communication within a relationship to see if you have open communication. Can you be honest with each other? Is it respectful? Or is there a lack of understanding and a breakdown in the way that you talk to each other? Oftentimes, communication styles can vary, but that doesn't mean that they're bad or it's not working. Sometimes the person may have a different level of understanding than the way that you're used to communicating your words and reflecting on your needs. They may not be able to process it in the way that you deliver it. So when you think about communication, the first thing you want to think about is, do you communicate in a way where the talker is communicating in the efficient way that the listener can take it in? And we're not talking about those who listen with the sole priority to respond, but people who actually take the time to listen and think about what they say or what they heard before they open their mouth to say anything. People who can talk respectfully and honestly and still add value. People who can take criticism without deflecting or blowing up or causing some type of negative response that makes you feel like you need to cower away, or it makes you feel like you have to walk on eggshells, like you can't talk to your significant other. Like if you're in a position where you feel like you can't express yourself, you can't express your feelings, and it happens often, that's something to consider. Another is personal growth and development. You should take a moment to reflect on whether the relationship supports your personal growth and your development, or if it's hindering your progress and self-improvement. We all have goals that we want to work towards. We all have things that we want to do with our lives. And oftentimes your partner is supposed to make that process easier for you, and it's supposed to lend a helping hand in getting you there along the way. They're supposed to be supportive, your biggest cheerleader, all of the things. On the opposite side, we do deal with people who are jealous of the things that we want to do, or they don't understand it, so they don't support it. It doesn't make sense to them, so they can't have the conversation, or they don't believe in you, or they're just negative all the way around. If you have a goal in life and your partner does not support it, and it's something that you know that you have to do to fulfill your own life's goals and your dreams, you can't be with someone who doesn't understand it or who's not supporting you, because most of the goals come with big steps to get it done. Biggest goals comes with heaps of achievement and oftentimes requires many goals to get to the big goal. So if you're working on your mini goals and someone's shitting on you, how do you think it's going to be when you actually reach the goal? They're going to shit on you even more. If they're talking down on you while you're working your way towards your dreams, they need to go. They're not serving you. They need to focus on themselves so you can focus on yourself. Another one is share values and goals. A lot of times we don't think that that's necessarily important depending on how old we are. But as you get older, especially if you don't have children and you want to have children with someone, knowing their goals, their aspirations, and their values is extremely important, because you want to have a household where it's fair and concise and it has like less friction, because you're working on the same thing. You have the same goals and you know that this is where we want to be in 2 years, this is where we want to be in 5, this is where we want to be in 10. This is how I want to raise my children. These are the values that I want to instill in them, whether it's children that you have together or whether it's children that you gain from the relationship. You should still have shared values and goals on how you want to bridge the family. Your independent goals don't necessarily have to be the same, but they still should be supported by your partner. A very important one that you should consider when you're trying to decide if you should walk away from someone is trust and respect. Take some time to evaluate the level of trust and respect that you have within your relationship. Trust and respect are the foundation to anything that is healthy between two individuals. If you do not trust your partner, then your relationship is going to fail. It's that serious. It's that simple. We do not have to sugarcoat it. If you don't respect your partner, or if your partner does not respect you, your relationship is going to fail. If you don't respect your partner, that's horrible. Why are you with someone you don't respect? Why are you with someone you don't trust? How are you sleeping soundly at night if you're in a relationship with someone who you do not trust nor respect? And if you're in a relationship with someone who does not trust and respect you, you need to get out of that as well, or you should anyways, because someone who doesn't trust and respect you are not going to honor you and value you when you're not around. They're not going to represent you when you're not around. They're liable to do any and everything because there is no trust and there's no respect. Now, I try to stay out of grown folk business because, this is the 18 and over podcast because we use a little foul language over here. But you are absolutely losing your mind if you think that you can have a healthy relationship with someone who you do not trust and do not respect. They go hand in hand. It's a requirement for happiness. It's a requirement for longevity. And we don't need to spend a lot of time there. Another thing to consider is the willingness to work through issues. Reflect on whether both you and your partner are willing to work through issues, to go to therapy or counseling or make any necessary changes. Sometimes we go through things and it's just a difference of opinion or a difference of mindset, or maybe you were raised differently than the person that you're with. And those things may be able to work out. Oftentimes, with effective communication, trust and respect, and a willingness to work through the problem, you can bridge brokenness in your relationship. Everything is not a throwaway. That's something I had to learn personally. I am notorious for when shit gets hard, I'm walking away from you because you're not worth it. Realizing that I don't give people enough time to prove that they're worthy, and I don't let people in to the point where they can stay. So that's something I had to work on in my own relationship journey through therapy, to come and realize why that is, what's the root cause, and how to work myself out of it. And through time, I have been able to work through it and work out of it, and it has yielded amazing results on the other side. So I implore those listening, if you know that you have an issue with that, there are people out here who can help you. Therapy for Black girls and therapy for Black boys, amazing organizations that can link you with some really great therapists if you're interested in that. No affiliation. They don't know me. I don't know them. I just know that their services has helped a lot of people that I know personally, and you should give it a try. But let me circle back. Willingness to work through issues. Sometimes things are bigger than yourself. Sometimes you feel like you're drowning in problems, but it's really not a multitude of problems. It's just one problem that's presenting itself in multiple ways. Those things can be worked through. So while willingness to work through issues can be a deal breaker, if they are willing, then you can try to work on it. If they're not willing and they don't want to work through anything and they're just stubborn and like, hell no, I'm not doing it with you. Do it on your own. There's nothing wrong with me. Because there's a lot of nothing wrong with me's out here. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine. The problem is you. Run. That's not your person. Get somebody else to do it. Let's move on. This is a good one. Think about the quality of your life outside of the relationship. How does the relationship affect other areas in your life? How does it affect your friendships? How does it affect the relationships that you have with your family? How does it affect your career? If you're in a relationship and it drags you and brings you down, and when you're around people who you trust, or when you're around people who genuinely make you happy and you have a good time, you have a good key, or when you're at work and you can thrive because, hey, I feel good today, so I'm going. But you're in a relationship and it just taints all of that. You don't want to hang out with your friends. You don't want to hang out with your family. Your work is failing. You know that you're fucking up at work and you're worried about getting fired because you know that you're not doing a good job. Take a look and see if it's a byproduct of the tomfoolery that may be going on in your relationship. Oftentimes what we breed at home is what we smell when we leave the house. So even though you may have a problem at home, it's still going to stick with you when you go into other circles. And a lot of times your family and friends will notice a change in you before you notice a change in yourself. I'm not a fan of having people in your business. I'm not a fan of talking to your homegirl or your homeboy about your person. I'm not a fan of that. I feel like your relationship is your relationship. And if you share things, you should share positive things, because once someone has a negative viewpoint of your person, then they're loyal to you, so they're going to have a hard time not seeing that person in that way, and that can cause long-term damage should you work out your issues. But as it pertains to the quality of life that you are living outside of your relationship, a telltale sign of something's going wrong somewhere else. So do that. Evaluate that. Ask around. Hey, how have I been lately? Have you noticed a shift in me? I'm just doing some, I'm trying to ask some questions because I'm working on myself. And I just, I want to get the opinions of others so that it may help me better understand myself, because your viewpoint of me from the outside may be different from how I view myself. So I'm asking these questions just to see if, we're on the same page and I see myself the way you see me, because, hey, we're always trying to be better. You can sugarcoat it like that and make it seem like it's not what it is, but still getting the information that you need. Now, for those people who may be living together or married or engaged, consider your financials. Assess the financial implications of leaving a relationship, including living arrangements, shared assets, financial independence, child support, all of the things. Oftentimes we stay in relationships because, hey, we can't afford to leave. That was the whole gist of my previous podcast episode. Stuck in situations where you can't afford to leave them because you didn't properly plan. So if you know your relationship is over and your finances are in a muck and you don't know what to do, go ahead and take a listen to Stuck Between a Rock and a Hard Place, episode 5. And just to get an idea of how friends and family that I have personally have suffered and are currently suffering because of this particular predicament. If you know that you need to leave a relationship, start preparing now financially. If you're not already there, don't just up and leave and then be stuck between a rock and a hard place, literally, because you didn't make a good financial decision and then you ended up making a worse one by leaving a comfortable circumstance. Now, if you're in a situation where it's not healthy, then go and, clean it up later. But if you can and you have the fortitude, get your stuff in order. Get your stuff in order before you walk away from something. Children and family are also an important thing to consider when you want to think about leaving a relationship. If you have children with someone, that's the hardest freaking decision to make in the world. And I mean, it's hard. You have to consider your little ones. You have to consider the family unit. It's a lot. And I hope that the young lady who sent me the DM requesting that I talk about this conversation is not in a situation where there are kids involved. And I apologize to you because I didn't ask you for that information, because if I knew that, this would probably be tailored a little bit differently. It's very difficult when children are involved. There's so many things to look at. The guilt is heavy, but also staying because you're unhappy can cause damage as well. A lot of times they say, well, I just stayed because, one of my kids had their mom and dad together, or their mom and mom, or their dad and dad, or whatever the case may be. I wanted them to be together. That's great, but kids can also see how unhappy you are, and that causes baggage as well. One thing's for certain, we're going to fuck up our kids. It's just a matter of how fucked up are they going to be. At the end of the day, I personally would just want my kids to be happy. No matter how we can get there, I just need them to be happy and whole, and I need them to be good citizens out in the world. We all, need therapy. Therapy is my motto. As if you listen, I'm sure every single episode I've mentioned therapy, because I am a walking example of how finding a good therapist can change your life. So I'm an advocate for it. If you have a relationship where there are children involved, intertwined families, I implore you, please go to therapy before you leave your relationship. Get guidance from someone who is trained on these things and topics. And they can also help guide your financial considerations if that's an issue as well. Take a look at your support system. Ensure that there's a support system in place, your friends, your family, that can provide you with support without them being all up in your business. For those of us, well, not me, but for those of you who are in early stages of relationships, think about future prospects. I will never, ever advise someone to stay in a relationship with someone who has potential, unless you're 20. If you're 20, 25, and you're waiting for somebody to live up to their potential, okay, that's fair, because you're still young. If you in your 30s, especially late 30s, crossing the 40, 50, if you don't have it now, you're not going to get it, bro. Or you may get it, but I'm not about to sit here and wait for you, because life is short, outside is ghetto, and I'm too cute to waste what it is that I got going on. So I'm going to meet you on the other side if I'm still free. If not, then you weren't meant to be mine. That's how I look at it. I don't do potential. I don't. But sometimes you may be working towards something, and the probability of what you're working on may be able to come into fruition. It may be highly likely that the things that you have been working on in your relationship are going to come true, and it's just hard right now. In those scenarios, you have to weigh whether or not it's worth to continue working through it or to turn your back on it. If you've already working through it and you see some positivity in your future, in your forefront, then it doesn't hurt anything to keep going. Like, just try, as long as you're safe and you're not in one of those relationships that can cause you mental, emotional, or physical damage, then keep going. Give it a try. But if the future prospects are dim and you're working with someone with nothing but potential, let it go. Come on, Elsa. Let it go. It's not worth it. And even if it is worth it, if it's meant for you, it'll come back to you when him or her or they gets their shit together. If you are not happy waiting for someone to get their life together, then live your life while they're trying to get theirs together. And then if it's meant to be, trust in the bigger picture of life to know that what is yours will always return. Lastly, let's talk about your health and your well-being. How does the relationship impact your mental and physical health? Are you sad? How long have you been sad? Are you depressed? Girl, how long have you been depressed? Is it feeding and oozing into other areas of your life? If you're in a relationship with somebody and they do not lift you up, brighten your spirits, bring you support and happiness, and again, as I said earlier, not every day, not all the time. No one is perfect. Everybody has their own individual levels of bullshit that they're dealing with. And sometimes you don't have it to give to someone else. But they should not be bringing you down when you're already down. If they're not in a place to help bring you up because they're going through their own thing, that's okay. But at least they're not bringing you down. But if you're with someone and being with that person just makes you feel ick, and they're just like, you think about talking to them and it's like, oh, you're not talking to them because you want to, you're talking to them because you feel like you have to talk to them, or you're hanging out with that person because you feel like you have to, you're having sex with that person because you feel obligated to, get out of that. That's not feeding you good. That's not feeding your soul. Get out of that. There's other things that you can do. There's other people that you can do. You don't have to do that at all. At all. Please. If anyone or anything, any scenario is having a negative effect on your mental health, and then it starts showing signs in your physical health, run. It's nothing to think about. Get out of that. Again, I will leave resources in the description of this particular episode for anyone who may need it. Please know that I am always here to offer my personal opinion. This is not the opinion of anyone else's but mine. If you ask me for it, I'm going to deliver. Thank you again to the young lady who submitted this particular topic request. We can go in deeper if you like. Just let me know what you want to hear and I'll go ahead and deliver it for you. And yeah, that's it and that's all. Thank you for giving me your time today, and I hope to see you next week. Again, always remember to let the lessons of yesterday be the stepping stones to an amazing tomorrow. Peace.